Without further ado, let us go to Tony Ferguson, who's joining us via the phone. Old school Tony. How are you, Tony?
What's up, Gregor?
Good to hear from you, my friend. You know what I love about you, Tony? You're the last guy left on the planet who won't do Zoom. You just won't do it.
Nah, man, it's the same thing with Joe Rogan interview. I just won't do it.
Why not?
That's because I know my value, bro. Somebody's going to have to pay me for that shit.
Respect. Wait, that's about the Zoom or about the Joe Rogan interview?
About any of my video conferences or anything like that. I have to just know my value, just earn that shit. So if I like somebody enough to be able to do that, I will. You know what I mean? So what I should do is just have you guys come over to the academy, and then you guys can film me working out. You know what I mean? And then we can ask some questions afterwards, like a conference.
Well, for now, we'll take this gladly. Thank you for doing it. I appreciate it. Could I ask you off the bat, Tony?
I'm just joking with you, Ariel. I'm just messing with you, man.
That's all.
You know what I mean? Eventually, what we'll do is we'll do a FaceTime, bro. Don't even trip.
It's all good. Listen, I'll take what I can get. I'm very happy to do it this way. How are you feeling? How are you feeling? It's been a little over a week. Physically, how are you feeling after that fight?
I feel amazing, man. Aside from getting knocked out and adding that to the resume, I feel actually not too bad. I'm going to be real. I've done a couple of interviews. The headaches have gone away. Kind of starting to remember how the round went, and then just kind of remembering what I was going for. And I went back and I watched film, and I really have to give myself some props out from the first round. And then, going back to the second round, I don't know what the fuck was going on, pardon my language.
No, it's all right.
I feel pretty good, man. I feel really good. I'm back to eating really, really good. I had a T-bone steak and eggs this morning, and then I went for a run before, for anything, and brought my dog with me, and I feel really good, man. I'm still fast. I shadow boxed. It's still there. I'm not letting any of this go to waste, man. I have to do that because after hearing Dana in the first round saying how good I looked, it was actually a really good motivator to actually get back in there and then fight some more. So
yeah, you look great. Have you watched the fight?
Yes, it took me some time to watch the fight, but I watched the highlights first. I watched the highlights. Obviously, everybody posted that shit, even my sponsors, which are fucking crazy. So fuck you guys. So, I mean, I'm going to be real, man. I have no problem, being real anymore. The most realest thing was to be able to, like I said, pardon my language, I'm really trying to stop that.
No, it's all good.
It's different for everybody. The casuals that have never been in there, they don't know victory or defeat, and they don't know how to get the championship level or to bounce back from consolation rounds. Sticking with the point, there's a lot of mistakes that I can fix. And I said in my last interview, if I didn't feel that I had the energy or the will or the want to be able to do it, I would have retired the first round. But I felt really good. I felt really comfortable. My team was really good going up and leading up to the fight. We had a routine, which is really good. We had to fix some things in the back, obviously, that, some words of wisdom that, going out there, some things could be omitted and some things could be said. But going into the fight, I was really confident. I even found myself at a boxing gym, I think on a Wednesday, and I hit every single bag in there. They had like almost 20 bags in there, I believe. It was crazy. But they've been there for like 55 years, and I could feel that aura. And it was just being around a gym and being around like that fighter-esque type of mentality. And I brought that in with me in the cage. And Chandler didn't have an answer too much for anything that I was throwing in that first round, man. So I'm going to be real with you. I'm hungry again. And I'm taking it slow. I got a 60-day Mando vacation, which is pretty cool. And we're going to take it from there, man. Not take it easy, that's for sure, because I'm not going to let, like I said, I've got plenty to work on, which is right now I'm going to work on my physique. I'm going to work on my bodybuilding skills and make sure that I feel good about how I look and then how I feel strong-wise. Mentally, I'm there, and physically, I'm there. But more than anything else is putting everything together like a paper, right? Because if you have too many main ideas, you're not going to know what your title is. And so that's where I'm at right now.
And so it sounds like you're in a good spot. It sounds like mentally you're feeling good about things because you looked so good in the first round. And because it ended, in the way in which it did, I would think that maybe it would be a bitter pill to swallow. Like you're like, man, I had this guy. I was looking good. I was touching him up. Yet for me, my takeaway is, correct me if I'm wrong, it's like you don't have any sort of regrets about the fight. You don't feel a sort of negative way about the fight. Is that accurate?
Absolutely. I don't have any regret on the fight. I mean, the only thing that, I would have done is a little bit more publicity in there, be more, I couldn't have been, the things that nobody sees is how I act with my fans. You know what I mean? Like when we're outside the hotel and everybody's waiting for it to get, for science stuff or to take pictures. After every single meeting that I had, I let my crew know. I said, hey, let's go for a walk. And what we would do is we would go around the stadium because we were fortunate that it was really close. And I'm walking and I would see a lot of the homeless people and I would see a lot of people that weren't homeless. And I would see just people interacting, fans wanting to take pictures, shouting from the cars, Tony! And it was the coolest thing, man. I'll go back to how The Rock, Dwayne Johnson, how he posted some video where he would just randomly post up to a van full of like fans, and he was like, "Hey, do you know where this and this is at?" And everybody would be like, "Oh shit, it's The Rock."
Mm-hmm.
And having people like that, it was kind of really cool to be able to see that, like how people at such a high caliber level were still acting normal, still doing it for the fans. And I do that already. I mean, there's something, you're not supposed to tell everybody, when you do a good deed. But it was the night of the weigh-ins. During the week, I saw this one guy, and he was just, I don't know, he was just looking for food. It was the craziest thing. And he just looked like he just needed some help. And here I am, during fight week, and, and the night of the weigh-ins, I had my team, which I ended up making 152.5, by the way, which was crazy, the night before the weigh-ins.
Wow.
And I'm sitting there, and actually it wasn't the night of the weigh-ins, it was on a Friday night. And I told my coach, I was like, hey, coach, I was like, you remember that guy? And he said, yeah. And I was like, I want to go bring this food to him. And so, like, I got the UFC made some, like, a food bag for me, which was really cool. And I ate a little bit of it, but I also kind of made a grocery run, and I had some extra. So I put a lot of that stuff together, and I was like, I'm going to go find this guy. I was like, hopefully, he's somewhere around here. So I went, and my coach was cool because I wanted to walk off some of my food. And we ended up going, and we found this guy, which was really cool. And I was like, hey, dude, I didn't really say much. I didn't go through the stuff and show him what I had. I wasn't trying to make it public. But I put in a bunch of waters in there. Some flavored waters from this, what was the company called? But it was cool. They were just, I liked them. And there's something that I liked, so I figured that he would like it. It was called H Factor. And I put him in there, and he was like, do you have any water? Do you have anything to drink? And I was like, yeah, bro. And I was going to tell him exactly what I had, but I didn't. I said, hey, you know what? This is for you. I even put a couple of pieces of candy in there. And the one thing that I was always thinking, especially when I was eating my food, was there's a lot of people out there that don't really have what we have, or that the ways to go about it, and people just, it's just kind of a weird thing. And so, like, that week, I went through a lot of different kinds of, not changes, but things that I've always done before, and I carried it with me. And it was kind of enlightening to have that good stuff go throughout the week, signing the autographs for the fans and taking the pictures. And it reminded me why I do the things that I do. And it wasn't for everybody else to see that, because everybody, they just hear the interviews and they just hear the UFC and what they promote. They don't see the big picture. They don't see the little things that I do that make a big difference to myself or to the person that I do that. So I'm going to be real. Like, fight week was incredible. My team was really good. We had our routine. And going into the fight, like I said, I have no regrets. The only thing that I have regret is to not be able to spend a little bit more time with my family, for one, because obviously you have to be selfish in this. And two is the victory. I tip my hat off to Michael Chandler on that one. But I have to give myself props. In the first round, he didn't have any answer for anything that I was doing. He even wanted the takedown. I mean, he had like one or two shots getting in there, but he didn't like the elbows. I got headbutted a couple of times, which was cool because it's a fight. That's what you do. The ref said what he had to do, and I was trying to kick off the cage and everything. So he was like, "Get your fingers out of the cage." It was a great battle between two athletes that are at the top tier of the game. There's a lot, obviously, that I can go back and I can try to fix. But like I said, it's props to Michael Chandler for using my fucking move to knock me out. That shit don't happen every day.
Do you remember anything about the finishing sequence?
I just remember not putting pressure and me trying to figure that out. And I have to go back to my team and ask what, I have to go back into the second round and listen to the commentary and the audio from the corner. But my wrestling coach was saying pressure. I had to talk to him, and he said something about pressure. And I don't know. It was completely different. It was, God told me I wasn't ready, pretty much. You know what I mean? It was one of those things where I have to be able to open myself up and then accept that I have to, one, continue to be coachable. Two, I have to get some sparring in. I haven't sparred in over 3 years, Ariel, probably a little bit more than that. Like, I'm talking about good sparring, like good team sparring. These guys are out there they're finding like world-class sparring. They have a team. They have all this stuff. I don't really need to have that, but I want to have that. The want and the will is there to be able to go in there, get hit again, to hit people, to not feel bad about hurting people again, because that's how it sucks, man. You could ask Rose Namajunas. I guarantee you she doesn't like hurting people. And it's kind of crazy about that, because we're in the hurt game. But when you get to this high level, and then you have a soft heart for a lot of people, like how we usually do, it's hard to go in there and to make this stuff happen. But the way that you do that is you have to, I talked to my old boxing coach, Rashad, and he was saying, this is the business, this is the hurt business. You have to remember that you can't be friends with everybody when you're going to sparring. And I remember that, and that's what, when I first started, I was hungry. I was hungry for that, and I got that same hunger back. There's no bullshit on that one. I got the same hunger back. I want to go. I want to spar. I want to do damage again. Not to hurt people, but to better myself in my sport. It's like in football. If you're not going out and attempting, because I'm a cornerback. If I have my responsibilities, I'm going to listen to the plays, and I'm going to go out there and I'm going to react on those plays. We watched plenty of film in this fight. I knew exactly that Chandler had the flexibility to go for head kicks. Like I said, we worked on a lot of things, and we chopped up his legs, checked up his kicks. I guarantee you, he went to the corner, said my legs hurt, because obviously from the Gaethje fight, I guarantee you he still wasn't healed. And the only part that wasn't probably hurting on his foot was the bottom of it. And he remembered that those kicks hurt when I was throwing them in the first round. So, like going back into the second round, it's something that I have to work on, which is obviously I try to keep my hands up most of the time. But when I was circling away, I didn't think that he had the ability to have that reach. I was looking probably for an outside sweep single, trying to bait him in so that way I can do that. But usually I would hit an Imanari roll, but I was thinking maybe possibly I could do something different. So that way, obviously it was just I could demonstrate to myself the things that I've been demonstrating inside of the practice room. But that goes into sparring. That goes with having to do and surround yourself around people doing the exact same thing. So that way you get those reactions. So instead of trying them in the octagon like, oh, hey, this is the first time I'm trying this, you're actually going to do that. And in the practice room, you're going to get the natural reaction that you really need. So that way, when you're in the cage, you can tell whether or not you're going to do that or not, and not hesitate.
Which team do you want to join?
Right now, I'm thinking about just being a free agent. I've never, one of my first trainers, my training buddies, when we were first starting, we really didn't have too much fun going into it, so we spent a lot of time together, which is cool. My buddy Joe, he tells me, a closed mouth don't get fed, Tony. I started thinking about that, and I always carry that with me because, obviously you carry good advice. And speaking up is one of the biggest things that person can do. That and confidence. You don't build that unless you take chances. And, in order to be successful, you have to be successful. And that means having the confidence in yourself to be able to do these things. So, I've asked in the last couple of interviews, and I've been blessed to be able to have some people reach out to me. And, the pit, with John Hackelman, you have Brandon Gibson from over there. You have, obviously, I have my jiu-jitsu team, which I've always loved, and then I have, wild card boxing for my boxing, and my buddy Rashad and my Muay Thai. I have my set guys. But when it goes to a team, I'm kind of thinking just like a free agent right now. Like, that's how I'm starting to think about it, and I'm kind of making my decisions depending on where my heart goes. And right now, the options keep coming in, and I'm very fortunate to be able to have that blessing and that courage to be able to speak up and to be able to say, hey, guys, I need help in this department. Because I've been doing it for a long time, man. I'm doing it by myself, which is really cool, and bringing in solid individuals that have left my efforts with their time and their effort. And we've been really successful, man. I went on a 12-fight win streak, and a lot of those dudes got bloodied up. And aside from that, when the pandemic hit and when Khabib didn't show up and McNuggets, Conor didn't want to come through, it was really hard because I was preparing for these last two individuals. That was, that's how it was supposed to go. That was how the story was supposed to be. But I ended up taking chances because I knew that these guys holding onto the belt and it was stalling the division. They weren't doing anything. They were just using that for just whatever it was. And me, I'm a competitor. I want to be able to go out there, demonstrate what I have to do. And, the last 4 fights I lost. I got TKO'd, but I didn't go down on the knee. There's Man, there was a saying my mom or my wife said. She was there's a popular guy in Mexico that he never took. He's like, I'd rather die in a war standing than rather taking a knee. And gosh, I forget what the saying was, but it stuck with me. And that was when a lot of people were going through like that the whole breathe thing when the man passed away, when the police were standing on his neck, and then you had a lot of people taking knees during the national anthem, and and I felt that it hit hard. But when I was inside that cage, what stuck with me was when I was in high school, when I won state, this guy, I was taking a knee. I was trying to catch my breath because they had to bring in these alumni to come and train with me and to kick my ass, and I was taking a knee. I remember catching my breath, and this guy, Wayne, he comes up to me and he says, "Hey, air's up." And I looked at him and I said, I didn't say anything. I just like, "Man, thank you." And I got my ass back up, and it stuck with me since then. And I remember with the pandemic that everybody was feeling down, and this is around the time where everybody's supposed to come together as brothers and to demonstrate how strong we are. And I remember to keep that faith. And so during that fight, that's all I could think about was what my wife had said, and just Emilio Zapata. That's who it was, for Mexico. And the idea was to not take a knee inside that octagon. And I remember just being strong as fuck. And at practice, I wouldn't take a knee. And when I would bring my students in, I would tell them the exact same thing. I wouldn't explain the whole story, but I would just say, "Hey, air is up." And that was passed down from my buddy Wayne, obviously from back home. And I brought that inside that cage with Gaethje. And even with the Oliveira fight, when I lost that one, my arm got stretched out. Everybody's like, "You got dominated." No, I really didn't. You look at Dustin Poirier in that fight, he got dominated on that. That dude didn't do shit on his back. Me, I was making sweep attempts. I was going for submissions. He played heavy blanket on that one. But when he went for the armbar, I knew that he was going to go for the armbar. I knew he was going to go for the take on my back. And when I didn't give him the opportunity to take my back, I kept my back to the mat. That was the whole plan the whole time. I practiced zero jiu-jitsu for that fight, Ariel. Zero jiu-jitsu. When the pandemic thing, when we were over at the trampoline place, we got yelled at. "Hey, you're gonna get COVID and blah blah blah. You're gonna ruin this." Shelby would called us and yelled at my manager, my agent Lloyd, and they relayed the message to me. And so I told my team, I was like, "Hey, maybe we can get some jiu-jitsu in." But then what they ended up, because they were staying at a different hotel, they were staying at a hotel across from us. I said, "Yeah, we can meet up this week and we can have a cram session." But we never got to meet up, and we really didn't practice jiu-jitsu that week, which was really shitty. But I went in there with the confidence that all the stuff that we had done from the past previous camps, and I went in there with the confidence too, just knowing that I just had the confidence knowing that, one, I was in shape, and two, I was taking a chance to help out the UFC because it was a short notice fight, and three, giving another kid a chance because I did that with Gaethje. And something I remembered in the fight, I know I'm kind of long-winded right now, but my kid ended up hurting his arm. He fell and he hyperextended his arm, but before he did that, he has this ability to just bend his arm, and it's kind of weird. I can't do it, but it looks like like he's going to hurt himself, but it's not. It's a natural way of stretching his arm. And I said, "Hey, be careful, son. You're going to hurt yourself." But I remember in the fight, I was like, my kid's flexible like that, and I went for the arm bar. Any other person would attack, but during that moment, I remember my son and how flexible his arm was, and I remembered, don't give up. I was like, just keep this mentality. Like, you're tough. You can do this. And so when I'm in that position, when he went for the arm bar, I knew he was going to go for the arm bar. He went for S mount. He wasn't going to take my back, so he was kind of quitting. And you have a high-level black belt like myself, and you have a high-level black belt like him. It's like a chess match. So when he went for the arm bar, I knew that he was going to go, and that was going to be my way to be able to to break out, hitchhike a thumb out like how we do in Ten Planet, and then get out. But he had it full. And I heard my corner say short time, before that, and he heard that too. And when we do that, we obviously go for our finishing moves. And I heard the 10-second bell, and I said, "You know what? You're okay. Hold on." And I just started thinking about my kids, and I started thinking about just how that was, and I let it go. I was like, "You know what? I'm gonna have faith. I'm just gonna let it go." And he went. He tried to break it. It didn't work. He goes back to the second round, and I was like, here we go. I stretched out my arm again, and it didn't feel the greatest, but at least I didn't quit. I didn't quit like I did in the Gaethje fight. And we were really close to beat him in that second round. I threw a head kick. He caught it. I cut him. and we were on the ground, and I was about ready to go to work. And he didn't want to be there either. Not a lot of people want to be on the ground with me, Ariel. You know, I got a lot of training in from 10 Planet. I'm really blessed to be able to have really great training partners. And when I cut him, I didn't know he was on the ground. I did an up kick, and it just wasn't my time yet. God said, hey, it's not your time yet. And it was an illegal kick, and then I ended up losing the fight. You know, we go to the Dariush fight. The Dariush fight, I brought in new corners. I brought in Freddie Roach and a couple guys from Wildcard. You know, me and Freddie got into a couple times, and I don't even understand why he was like that. But before the fight, they told me not to throw a jab. And I'm kind of like, okay, this is one of my most important ones. But it was up to me to be able to demonstrate that out there. And so when everybody's like, well, you didn't look like yourself, you look froze. Well, I'm trusting my corners to be able to tell me the right advice when I go out there. But like I said, it's always on me to be able to make sure I make those good adjustments. And during the Dariush fight, actually, Freddie gave me some really good advice. He said, don't run on the streets no more, because I rolled my ankle that week before. You know, I'm not saying my foot was a balloon. No, I'm not saying any of that shit. I rolled my ankle because I wasn't paying attention. There was some stairs, and I was doing a Instagram live, and we were there on the Sunday before fight week, and I'm paying attention to like my fans, and I'm saying something. I said, hey, we got here early, and I was like, you know, we don't have to rush. I said something like, not arrogant or cocky, but I was just confident, not overconfident, but I was paying attention to everybody else and not to myself and what I was doing. And here I go, and a crack, I roll my ankle, and I hear a huge pop. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, oh shit. And I stopped the Instagram live, and I looked at my buddy Ben, and I looked at my buddy Tony, and I was like, fuck. And they're like, you okay? And I was like, oh my gosh. And so I said, I have to keep running. I was like, if I stop right now, I was like, it's going to atrophy. I'm not going to be able to get back. I've been in shitty situations back at home where I've either ran out of gas or my tire fell off, and I had to figure out a solution to those problems right away. And I said, let's run back. And I ran back, and luckily for me, I heal really quick, and I know how to do that. I paid attention in school, and I paid attention to a lot of my people that I really learned from, and a lot of my trainers and, you know, sports trainers that know how to heal myself. And I just trusted myself to be able to go through it. I used the Normatec boots. I used a red light therapy, a PVM that my buddy Steve let me borrow for that week. I had to do Graston on myself, and throughout that whole week, we still didn't do jiu-jitsu. We barely did any boxing. Actually, you know what? We did a lot of boxing. That was one thing that we did. We did a lot of pads, so I had to thank my team for being able to do that. But we really didn't do too much Muay Thai. And, you know, it's always been this, like, missing elements. Like, I had little bits here and there. And in the Dariush fight, I remember when he grabbed my leg, she's like, I popped it, man. What's going on with you? And I was like, no, you really popped it back into place. And I had to laugh about it. But, you know, even going to the Chandler fight and then just, you know, all the fights and thinking about it, I really wasn't giving 100%. You know, during the Chandler fight, I really was as best as I possibly could. That's one thing I really did. I did a lot of fight film watching. I was eating phenomenal, Ariel, just eating really good, just making sure that I was putting nutritious stuff in myself, making sure I was putting enough scoops of protein, making sure I was taking enough of that, making sure that I was eating my oatmeals, my yogurts, my fruits, and my vegetables, and putting it all together. And one of my trainers, he tells me when I was over at the UFC event in Anaheim, he says, you look good, kid. And I was on the teleprompter, and I took a screenshot of that, and I looked at that, and I was like, that's cool. It's like, instead of me worrying about like how I looked, I was like, I just kind of stopped, and I forgot about that, and I just worried about what I could control, which was my heart rate and my breathing. And that really helped me with my focus and everything, you know, paying attention to my diet and my levels of structures of lifting, and even just making sure that my warm-up, because you heard Eddie Bravo one time, right? He said, I can train for 6 to 8 hours nonstop. But not a lot of people can do that. And so what I started doing was I started condensing, defragmenting my workouts and making sure that it was really good, what was really important to bring into that fight. And, you know, I did my best, man. But like I said, God said I wasn't ready yet. But I got this hunger, and, you know, when I got knocked out, I had plenty of time to take a nap and think about what was really important to me. And I'm still smiling. I really am. I'm still smiling. I'm still happy that my fan base is hardcore. I really don't understand how they keep following me. I want to keep following me. Maybe it's because I don't quit. You know, maybe it's just because of my stubbornness in that one, that they just find some kind of inspo in it. But whatever it is, you know, don't stop. You know, keep doing what you're doing. That's my thing to them is don't quit. There's always, you can take one step in front of the other, and no matter what, you can always do better. And that's how I feel right now. I feel like going into my next fight confident. I'm not going to waste these next 2 months just sitting and moping. I'm not going to let any of these dudes, drinking that poisonous haterade have any effect on me. You can post a picture as much as you fucking want. You can do retweets, and you can do whatever the fuck you want. It ain't going to get me down. I promise you that. I've been to hell and back, and I'm here right now, and I'm walking.
Can I ask you, Tony? And I appreciate the thoughtful responses. At the beginning of the week, you showed up at the media day, and you had a lot to say, and it created a huge buzz. And you're comparing promoters to drug dealers, and you were talking about the Dana White privilege line. It didn't seem like you were in a mood to joke around. It seemed like you had a lot to get off your chest, and a lot of important stuff. Even at the Thursday press conference, talking about health insurance. People are talking about bonuses. You're like, no, it seemed like you were a mature, older man, a father, a husband who realized that, like, hey, we need some things to be taken care of when the career is over. What prompted all of that out of you on Wednesday and Thursday? And in particular, the Wednesday stuff. I mean, it takes a lot of guts, as I said on that show, as we were watching it almost live. People don't understand the balls that it takes to go to a UFC press conference and talk about the UFC like that. It ain't easy, because when the cameras turn off, there's sometimes conversations and texts and things like that. And so can I ask you what prompted it, and what was the response afterwards behind the scenes?
Well, I'm going to be real. Something that just kind of pissed me off was when the UFC, I love my company, I'm going to be real, and Dana's all right, he's all right, And Hunter Campbell, he's cool, and then Sean Shelby, they're all right. They got to look for the bottom line. But I had to look out for mine, and I hadn't did that for a long time. That all rhymes right there. That's pretty cool. But during that fight week when I first got there, I had a lot to say, because during the last year and a half, the last year when I was off, I was down to take that Makhachev fight. And, the way that they had presented that was that I didn't want to fight, or however they wanted to present it. But it got brought up in the meeting too that, hey, we'll look at, we'll look into the insurance, because I brought it up. I said, I would, obviously I want insurance. The numbers and everything made sense to me. And they said, okay, we'll get your premiums together, and then we'll see how much it costs, and so on and so forth for the next, couple of years. So I had, previously said that to them, and they had agreed that, we'll look at it. And I said, okay, that's cool. Well, I go a couple months later, I was ready to fight Chandler, and, however, I think it was January or February, something like that. And he wasn't ready. His legs still probably weren't healed. But when I got the contract for Chandler, there came a side note which said that they were going to extend my contract. And I was like, for what? And they do a lot of these things, and so I questioned it. Closed mouth don't get fed, Ariel.
Mm-hmm.
So when I questioned it, I questioned Hunter, and what he said was, oh shit, he's like, I don't remember signing that. And I was like, excuse me? I was like, yo. I was like, I've been ready to fight. I've been ready to do this. And they wanted to extend my contract, and we fought for it. And they ended up taking it away because they signed documents that they don't read. And that really pissed me off. I was like, you're shitting me. I was like, you guys don't even remember, signing a document to have me stripped? When all I've been was for the company, and you had Conor being inactive, and he was going to retire or whatever he was going to do, and you guys stripped me for this. And I'll go back into where, I was really mad. I don't want to, say too much. I try to keep everything really good. But when Dana said, any man that wears, sunglasses inside deserves to have that happen to them, and now you have Holler head sunglasses, because I'm looking at that logo, and I'm like, oh, what the fuck? Dana doesn't even wear sunglasses, and this is his company. So there was just a lot of bad things that I've always felt that was kind of underlying, and I let it go. I let it out. I was pissed, as I should be. I've always done things for the company. I've always showed up. I'm not saying I'm the only one, but some of the things that I say, people had to take me serious, because I'm just a messenger, man. At the beginning of the day, it's not the first thing that's on my mind, but when I have to look after my family and I have to look after our well-being, they're not, one, paying insurance. That's a whole other story. And two, they're not paying my bills. When I show up to fight and I do that, we're subcontractors out there, which is crazy. I'm not trying to talk about unions and stuff. I don't understand it too much. But I know what I fight for, and I fight for myself. I wasn't talking for everybody in there. I was talking for my family and myself, because I have another kid. I have two kids. My wife wants to obviously have another one, which is cool. I'd love to. Perfect practice makes perfect. You know what I mean? But, during that first week, it was intense, and and I talked to my wife, and she's like, what happened? To use to smile a lot, and I started thinking that I was like, what, you're right. I was like, you're absolutely right. So during the week when I said that, I said my piece, the Dana White privilege thing, too, it wasn't funny because I had been through it. I've gone through it all. It's not Mike's fault. But the company, sometimes it's weird, man, and there's a lot of underlying things that a lot of people don't see. They take for granted what the UFC presents. If you look at the commentary, if you watch my Oliveira fight without the commentary, you can actually see the fights better. I recommend anybody to do that, because what ends up happening is the commentary gang up on people that they don't like. Like I said, I never did a Joe Rogan interview before. I might, but because of that, obviously, he probably got bent out of shape on that one. And obviously when Cormier, when Khabib, and, I make my comments about fathead and him not making weight. It must be a team thing, man. Those guys shit on the scales. I don't understand it.
I saw you and Cormier going back on Twitter there a couple of days ago.
Yeah, that's for another day, another story. I'm going to be real now. And I got nothing against the guy. I'm going to be real. He's good for the sport. Congrats to him on the Hall of Fame. The one thing is about the Olympics. I always say that. He's been to the Olympics. Henry Cejudo has been to the Olympics. These guys, they know what it takes to be able to do it. They put in their time and energy. But when you surround yourself around people that have not done that, your head starts to inflate a lot. And you start to believe everything that they fucking say. And so my mom always said, surround yourself around good people, good, strong-minded people. My pops would tell me too. And for a while there, like I said, I started believing in the hype, and I started getting mad about it because I kept quiet for a year. And the way that UFC presented it was like I took myself from the community and I did all this other stuff. I started hype. I never did that. The only thing I ever did was I didn't promote it as much. I didn't post it out on Instagram or Twitter because I knew that it's for quick hits. I'm not about quick hits anymore. I'm about value. I'm about long term. I'm about making sure that I increase value with the people that are around me, helping them increase value. The companies, the CEOs of these companies, and, if they believe in that don't quit attitude, because it's not easy starting a business and keeping it going. Same thing with the UFC. You have to rely on the fighters to be able to, 1, show up, 2, make weight, and 3, go out there and present themselves in the best manner, and 4, not talk too much shit. Because good or bad publicity is good. It's publicity. That's what the idea is. But like I said, going into it, during the rest of the fight week, I started taking my wife's advice, and I started smiling better. I started having a little bit more fun. I stopped letting people have an effect on me, and I started to affect other people, which was cool because miserable people are going to be miserable, bro. I'm going to be real with you, and I don't want to be like that. So I had to really reflect on what I was saying, what I was doing, and it came from the heart. It was almost like God was talking for me, and it was like a big blessing that I said what I had to say, because a closed mouth don't get fed, Ariel. And like I said, at least with the press conference, I had fun. I wasn't trying to talk too much shit against Mike. There was absolutely no reason for it. But it's different because a lot of people expect me to go in there and talk shit. But I saved that for Conor, and I saved that for Khabib. Because that was the fun part. That was like the saga, if you really wanted to, like Dragon Ball Z. These were the bad guys, and here I am, like Goku, going in there and doing damage. And so that's how I kind of feel about it, man. Like, I said what I had to say, but I don't have to reflect too much on it anymore because it's not anything else, but just for me. I'm doing this all for me, not for anybody else. So I'm deciding to be happier. I'm deciding to smile more. I'm deciding to take care of myself more. I'm deciding to take care of the people that represent me, or that I represent more, like my sponsors or the people, my management company, and, obviously faith, family, and friends first. But unless you feel good, how do you expect to take care of other people? That shit happens, and a lot of those times those people don't make it. And I've seen enough times where I just don't want to do that anymore. I want to be able to make sure that I take care of myself so I can take care of other people. I was always wearing shoes all the time, but I got a pair of sandals pretty cool right now. My mom sent me a pair of sandals. And so I'm deciding to wear those, a little bit more. I'm actually going to change my shoes right now and put them on.
Can I ask you, it's been over 4 years since that moment that you just referenced with the sunglasses and the Fox interview and everything like that, and you brought it up in that press conference as well. Are you worried that over time this will bother you more and more? I mean, I've said it many a time.
Yeah.
No one has gone screwed more than you. That was horrific what happened to you. You're doing PR, you trip over a cord, you lose the fight, you injure your knee, and nothing really happens as a result. Over time, do you think it will bother you even more?
check this out. Like injuries and stuff happen. You know what I mean during fight camps.
Yeah, but that's a different one. You're doing PR for them.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. You know what I mean? Like, I'm gonna be real. Even even during that camp too. Doing jiu-jitsu and stuff like that. I had a little boo-boo, but going into the fight, I was ready. I'm gonna be real. And when we were doing UFC PR, I wasn't wearing sunglasses. I was wearing prescription lenses. And a lot of those cords that were over there, I've seen plenty of Fox people, like even cameramen, tripping over this shit. And the black stuff is like, I forget what it's called, but it's a different kind of black material. You can't really see the shit. It's really hard. And you see people tripping on that stuff a lot. But the thing I remembered was, because I would always see a lot of people like just faking and trying to get like workman's comp and stuff, and I wasn't for me. I never faked that shit. So when it happened, I was like, okay, cool. And I had to really rely on like myself and being how tough I was. And then I asked my doctor, and we really were trying to make this shit happen. I'm not lying, dude. We were really trying to make it happen, trying to see what we could do. And going into it, it was tore off the bone, man. Like, it was really kind of shitty, like how it happened. But like I said, when I rolled my ankle at the Dariush fight, I didn't quit. I knew that people had bought tickets. They spent their money, that they were going up to see us compete. I knew that it was really hard to be able to, like, obviously get late replacement opponents. So I was trying to show up. And I did the exact same thing for that fight. I really tried. I really, really tried, man. And it just really wasn't our time to fight. It wasn't for me or Khabib to fight. And unfortunately, I got stripped, which was some bullshit. But I don't know, man. It was kind of, every time I think and I dwell on it, it's not a headache, but it's a sad moment. But I have the belt, and I have to remember that I put in a lot of time and effort, and I put in a big long win streak on that one. So it's not about pride anymore. It's not about like, oh, I'm being pissed off at the world. That, oh, I'm owed this and owed that. I'm not trying to be like Uncle Rico. Fuck that. There's plenty of those people out there that are like that. Oh, if coach would have put me in, I would have won state. No, I got a state championship football ring on right now. I got a national championship ring for wrestling. I got a belt right here. I got a belt from Pure Combat. I got a belt from the 805 Pride, and I got a UFC belt. I have those on my shelves. I have another, and I have a trophy from the Fighters Only. It's like collecting accolades. Mm-hmm. If I keep allowing myself to dwell on a lot of shit in the past, it's gonna make me miserable, bro. I'm gonna be real with you.
Yeah.
So when I said that what I had to say in that press conference when everybody was there, it was cool to see everybody. It was really cool to see everybody. We didn't see you there. I'm gonna be real. I don't know why. But I was expecting to see you, and I got to see John Morgan and everybody else, which was cool. And it was an instant. It felt really good to be there again. But carrying all that negative energy with me, it made me sound like being an asshole. And I'm not completely. I have my moments, but obviously every man does. That's how it goes. But I just don't want to carry that energy with me anymore, because I know that there's a lot of young UFC fighters that they look at this company and they're like, man, I want to go fight for the UFC. I want to go fight for the UFC. But they don't know the shit that comes with it. But it's not for me to tell them that and to piss on their dreams and their hopes, because it's not. It's up to me to be able to be like, you know what? You're going to be able to make it. You're going to do good. And then coach them to a certain level. I'm a good scout when it comes to that. To say, hey, you know what? Keep up with this. If you decide to go professional, I have my buddy that he was trying to, one of my students, I'll call him my student, Kalen. When he was trying to decide whether or not he wanted to go Olympics or pro for boxing. And we had a nice conversation. I was like, if you go pro, I was like, don't mess around, kid. I was like, make sure that you're doing everything that you possibly can to go in there and give it your best and your all. And now the kid's 3-0, and the UFC's they're helping him out at UFC Fight Pass, and they're making him a big name. But I'm trying to keep telling him, hey, stay humble, fight strong. And this is the message to all these other fighters out there, because everybody wants to be in the spotlight. They want to have the millions of followers. They want to make the money. They want to do all this. That shit will come. Brock Lesnar told me, I talked to Brock again, and he tells me, and the first time he was like, save your money, pay your taxes. But the reason why I had a relationship with Brock, and I still continue to, is because I don't quit, for one, and two, my work ethic. I always surround myself around strong-minded individuals, and that's how I see how it is for a lot of these young fighters. And they need me to be strong, because I'm like a big uncle. I'm like a big brother when it comes to all this stuff. Even like Charles Bronx, when he was getting ready for the fight and he got stripped, he was signing some posters. He was signing some posters in the back at the weigh-in ceremony, and he was with his team. And so I go up to him. I put my hand on his shoulder, and he didn't know it was me at first. And he turns around, and he kind of had this pissed-off look. And I look at him and say, hey, I'm going to need you to focus, all right? And I want you to focus. And he looked at me, and he's like, okay. And I gave each other a hug, which was cool. And his coaches are right there. But a lot of people don't see this stuff. The same thing with Carla Esparza. I love Rose. But I know, Carla was nervous. So when we were at the, signing the posters, I had a couple lifesaver mints in my pocket. I just loved them. It was cool. And I gave her one. We were talking about tough. But we get nervous, man. Like, people don't really see that. There's a lot that goes into the media. There's a lot that goes into a fight week, and it's fun. That's the fun part. Because everything that's hard is supposed to be there in training. But when you get there, it's like everything becomes real, like more real. And I'm sure that Carla she just got married, so congratulations to her. And congratulations to Rose, too, for just being the champ for a long time, too. Takes a champ to know a champ. And you know what I mean? It's really cool on that one. And so she sent me a message, too. But, like, even just being there for a lot of my fighters is something that I take a lot of love and a lot of pride in, because they listen. They like to listen to me, or they like to, I'm not going to say jock my swag, but they do. Even like Bilal Muhammad, that dude would just clown all the time on some of the things that I would do with, like, my sunglasses or, like, some of the memes on my workouts. And now you have this dude just, like, jocking the shit out of my swag. I remember when we were over there, I ran into him before we were at the fight, and he said, he was wearing his sunglasses, but they weren't on yet. They were on his shirt in front of him. And he's at 170, and I'm looking at him, and I'm like, man, that would be cool to go back up to 170. These guys are slow and dumb. So at 55, they're a little bit quicker. But he had his sunglasses, and I looked at him, and I was like, I said to him, I was like, you used to clown for sunglasses, and now you're wearing them. He's like, I'm the sunglasses guy. And I looked at him, I was like, you will never be the sunglasses guy. And it was the funniest shit, bro. But since I started with Tough from wearing suits, and then seeing GSP start to wear the suits and everybody else, I got burned out. I stopped doing that because I used to wear a shirt and tie at every competition for in high school and in college. I would just do it because that was how my mom used to dress me. It was just how it used to go. I just, my vest was the same thing. It was like one of my favorite things to wear. And I put it together, and there goes my three-piece suit. And my sunglasses was always my thing with my buddy Matt back in the day. We would call it going scamping for hoes. We would just be in this broke ass down car until he got a new car, and we would just go and just have fun, listen to music, and just being how we were. Joking around and doing that kind of thing. But the sunglasses thing was my biggest thing. It was just like always, like, just having a pair of shades was just, it made me feel good about myself. So shout out to my sponsor Dylan, my company I work with, my business partners, and it's just like always been my thing. So anytime ever, even my hair, when I was racing Cachanoi for Kuno, and it was all bleached out, and now you have Charles Oliveira who bleaches his hair. I had gotten burned out of everybody doing what I had been doing. And I've never been that person. I was always kind of like just doing my own thing. But I found that love and that passion for it again, for being able to like myself, not because everybody else, but because for me. Not getting burned out with who wants to, have my tattoos, or who wants to fight like me, or who wants to do what I do or say what I say, because that's a lot of responsibility, Ariel. That's a lot of responsibility. You better have some strong fucking shoulders to be able to carry that torch. And I still have enough strong shoulders to be able to carry it. And I'm blessed to be able to do that, man.
Just a couple more, and I'll let you go. Again, I really appreciate it. So at this point, do you know when you want to return? You have the suspension, right? But in your mind, in a perfect world, do you know when you want to return? And is it possible, to even ask who you'd like to return against?
Yeah. I'm going to be real. Like, it'd be a stand-up battle would be nice. I asked Dana, yo, bro, would you mind me doing a celebrity boxing match? Making a couple more bucks for my family. Something like that would interest me. It would bring some attention. I'm sure he'd be down for that, which would be kind of cool.
You think he'd be down for that?
I say that confidently, right?
Right,
Kind of funny how that works. But, don't call me an oracle. But I've always been pretty good with the way I say and see things. And just like I said, I'm just a messenger for people. So, we all got to get right. But, aside from boxing, because I just fucking love boxing, because I've wrestled my whole life, man. People are like, how come you're letting takedowns happen? fuck, man, I just want to go there. I just want to stand in bag, man. Let me stand in bag, bro.
Yes.
You know, I just want to be in the pocket. I just want to sit there and then give the fans something to do. And a lot of these fighters, they don't want to do that. They want to take you down, and they don't respect because it's MMA. But that goes into me sparring and so on and so forth. But, staying with the subject that you asked, these 2 months, I'm going to go and I'm going to really, within the next week or two, I'm going to try to narrow it down on a camp, which would be excellent. I'm going to be looking for a new strength and conditioning coach, so I don't have to have all that responsibility. So you guys send your resumes to me. You guys, you know where to find me. Obviously work for my, work harder on my sponsors. Make sure that the companies and equity that I have, as far as my businesses go, I'm going to make sure that those stay afloat. I'm not going to quit on them. And I'm going to ask more questions. I even told Lloyd, I was like, I want to go back to school. I want to get my degree. So I have a choice between Stanford and Harvard to get my business degree, and we're going to make that happen too. So there's a couple things I want to do, and I'm not gonna shy away from it. I'm going to really go after it. I'm going to keep myself busy and not surround myself around people not doing what I do, and just find the right people to keep learning from, to ask good questions and get the coaching. I have the coaching now. Trust me, it's not bad. Well, what I want to do is I want to find an MMA team to be able to go and beat people up or get beat up, because that's how we do it. I don't see myself getting beat up anymore. I've got that passion. I've got that hunger again. I just got tatted again, so I got that feeling of pain, which is cool. I don't recommend it to everybody, but for me, it makes me feel good about myself. And I got it, and I'm going to do a tattoo release so you guys can see it. But these things, what I'm doing, are these small goals are going to end up being bigger goals. And so, as far as an opponent, I know you had Dustin Poirier on before here. It would be cool to fight him. I have nothing against Nate. I had nothing against going up a weight class. For a long time there, Dana made me feel like shit for staying, for going up that weight. But he made me feel like shit for a long time. And if you have people making you feel like shit like that, essentially you start to almost kind of believe it. I'm not standing here giving them the finger, but I'm kind of sitting here kind of be like, I'm going to do me for me now, and you're going to watch me now. So I'm not trying to be unhappy anymore, because I just can't do that shit no more. I'm not going to let commentary or people have that salt and throw it in my shit, because I do it myself. And I do enough salt for everybody, so I'm not going to do that. So as far as return, he said I'm going to take some time out. I call the shots.
Yeah.
Whenever I say I fight, they always give me a fight, and that's how it goes. I always talk to Hunter and Dana, same thing, and they know already. They know when I'm ready. When I say I'm ready, I'm going to be ready, because it's not like I'm not going to put myself in there if I'm injured anymore. And on the last couple fights, I did that, and it wasn't healthy for me, and it didn't really turn out too well. So I have 2 months. I'm going to obviously recover from the fight. I'm not forgetting about the knockout, but I'm kind of like, I'm glad it happened. It gave me a nap to really think about what I had to do. And, I don't remember being on the stool. I don't remember the decision. I don't remember walking out of the cage, talking to Chuck. I don't even know what he said. I don't even know if I, gave high fives to the fans on the way out. All I remember was my coach being at my side like I was in college wrestling. And I'm walking out, and I start to see the ambulance. We're walking towards it. I said, fuck. I said this in my last interview, but it hit me that I lost. And so I was just trying to think. I was like, you know what? No big deal. I was like, you lost. Let's take it. Let's learn from it. Let's get better. Let's go see your family. Let's make sure that everything is cool, and let's grow from here. So I would like to see myself back in the picture. Obviously, I want to fight this year. My dad actually asked me right now, who's next, and obviously there's going to be a lot of people that are going to want to, want to step up. Look at me as like a stepping block, but that's a dangerous block to be stepping on. When I have all my attention towards something, I have my full hunger. You saw it in the first round. Now, if I hadn't sparred for about 3 to 5 years, imagine what I can do if I do spar. If I still add those two new tools in my box, and I allow myself to have that, that's a dangerous individual. That's a very dangerous individual, and I don't think I'm going to be too easy for anybody to be able to finish for 1 or 2, be able to win anymore. You got to have that want and that will and that passion to be able to want to win again wholeheartedly, not just saying to do it, not lying to yourself yeah, I'm doing the best I can. I really was thinking that I was, but I wasn't surrounding myself around the team. So literally, I've been giving probably like 75% in the effort compared to how I used to when I went on that 12-fight win streak. So that's an interesting fact, right? Because I'm a numbers guy myself.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to make sure that I do all the work and the effort that I have to, and make sure that the outcome is much, much different. I don't mind dealing the pain towards anybody else anymore and not being so angry. That's for sure. Because it ain't good anymore. I want to be happy. I want to make sure I'm smiling, and I want to make sure that gets presented out. And if you don't like me, then fuck you. But if you like it, then cool. You're cool with me. But like I said, you know what I mean? It's better to be on the crew that's smiling all the time.
Could I ask, and I don't mean to dampen the mood, but it does seem rather personal between you and Conor about some of the things that he tweets about in the aftermath and in the buildup. I know there was the management story and all that. If you could pick one, would it be the Conor fight? Like if at some point before the career is over, is that the one, or is Khabib the one?
I don't know if he's allowed. I don't even know if he's allowed to fight me.
Why not?
Obviously, he was because he was part owner of Paradigm, and through the Miller Ayala Act, if you're an acting owner of an agency, you're not allowed to compete in the same company or in the same sport as the athlete. So there was reason why I guarantee you that they didn't want to compete or they couldn't compete. And even Dana White said those guys fucked you over when it was in my meeting to go back and to kind of like make sure I was okay to go and fight. You know, in my contract leading up to that, he said that, and I remember him saying that because I'm like, yo, so you knew, but you still let it happen. So it was an interesting fact, and like I said, I would love to be able to compete against Conor, but the hardest part and here's the biggest thing. If you ever watched the movie Prestige, have you ever watched that?
No.
So there was a guy, right? He did this magic trick, and these two dudes, they couldn't figure out how he did the magic trick for the longest time until like towards the end of the movie. So what I had did for a long time is I built up a facade around people and things because I didn't really want people to see the real me or how I was really acting. So I would always do that, and I built that up for a long time, and they took the bait. And it was kind of interesting how that happens, how it works, because now I'm being real. I'm not dumb. You know, I'm not saying I'm like the smartest person in the world, but I'm very educated. I like to think so. I surround myself around good people and ask questions. But they took the bait. Anytime that they would come to my academy, they'd be taking pictures of my equipment, and you would see Conor with the equipment. Anytime that Audie would, you know, or people that would come into my spot, they would be blurting out my personal information now so everybody around the area could hear it. It was just like a crazy, crazy, crazy thing, man. You know, and I don't want to embellish too much on it, but I would love to be able to fight Conor because if he still has his academy by my spot, because that's what he ended up doing. He ended up opening up an academy right near me. My neighbors come up to me and they're like, hey, you know Conor's right next to you? And I cracked up because that's how he is. The dude's so unhappy that he has to copy everybody's stuff to find happiness. And maybe you don't do it on purpose. Maybe it's because, you know, he admires me and what I do, regardless of what it is. I don't, you know, because he would even ride my bike trail. He would, you know, use the bike trail to use my run. You know, that management, they used to know a lot about me, you know, and it was because I trusted them for a while. But like I said, I built this facade, so it wasn't everything. I just knew I had to be kind of like full of shit with them on some of the stuff, but, you know, that was hiding my real me in the smile. So if it is with Conor, I have no problem with it. You know, if he wants to get into the personal things and everything like that, it's okay. I don't mind it. You know, he can say what he wants to say. He's just really unhappy with himself. You know, I mean, trying to be at that high level like that and then trying to promote yourself and everything. And then, you know, obviously, I'll say to him, you know, take care of your leg. You know, I hope you're doing your best on that and listen to your doctors. And fighting with a fixator is not easy. You know, you got to look at Chris Weidman, but you know, I'll look at my father. You know that he ended up breaking half his body back in the day, and so he has a fixator in his leg, and he walks around. He says, "I can feel these pins, and I can, you know." And there was the same thing with me. When I had the surgery in my left arm, I could feel the pins in the plate. It was hard, man. You know, but it's a crazy thing that we live in there in the world that what we do. But reflecting back on that question, I wouldn't mind fighting him, but I don't know if he's allowed to or what that is. And you know, they would lie to me saying that he wasn't an owner of the company when he was. And the sponsors that were brought in for me, they didn't go towards me. They went to him or his guys. it was kind of like I said, when you get treated like shit for a long time, you start essentially find a feeling like that. But it's a trickle effect, and I don't want to have that affect anybody anymore, and I'm not blaming anybody or anything. But if it's Conor, that's cool, man. I wouldn't mind it. You know what I mean? It would be a great fight. Dustin, same thing. Nate, like I said, I really don't want to fight Nate, but, Nate's cool.
Yeah, that's been talked about.
It'd be cool to train.
You'd want to train with Nate?
I wouldn't mind it, man. He's always out here, and it was kind of funny. We were over at the UFC Anaheim event, and him and his buddy were right there, and they were about to pass me a doobie. I was like, yeah, but not right here. I was kind of joking, and I laughed about it. But then Nate kind of looked at me, and I looked at him, and we both cracked a smile at the same time, which was cool, and we kind of high-fived each other. We accidentally elbowed some chick on the head, which is kind of a shitty thing, but it was funny how it happened, and we both kind of laughed about it. But like I said, I wouldn't mind training with him or Gilbert or Nick. You know what I mean? It's just I gotta admire my peers because they go through a lot of the shit too. So it's interesting how that works. But I'm gonna be real. Like, you have top 10 fighters. I wouldn't mind fighting any of those. But I don't even know my fucking ranking anymore. I probably should, but I'm not really worried about it. So, I've been to the top, I've been to the bottom, and I know exactly what I have to do. So regardless of who they put in front of me, I'll be ready.
Can I ask about Gregor Gillespie? He wrote a whole thing yesterday and mentioned that you keep turning down fights against him. Is that true?
I've never heard about him getting offered a fight. I was never offered a fight by the UFC from him. I never heard anything. My lawyers, my agents never heard anything. I'm going to be real. That dude's some kind of work, man. I sent him a message as and the story is he don't change his knee pads, I guess, or something like that. And he's a stinky guy. I don't want to fight a stinky guy. Clean up your act and go fight some people. You can't talk your way into a title. You're not Conor. Conor's got value. He brings something to the table. He brings, he breaks records with the gate and everything. But so do I. You got to remember, a lot of people want to fight, or come and see us fight, and you have to be able to go out there and do diligence, to hold your ground, to be able to stand toe-to-toe, to be able to, look at the Dana White Contender Series. How about that? I don't really watch it too much, but those fuckers are hungry because they're coming from nothing. And if you fight like that, and you fight like you're hungry, and you're going in there and you're finishing people, you're not just laying on people or expecting things. A lot of people, they expect shit, and they don't put in the work. Nothing's going to come to you if you don't do any work, man. If you're just sitting there bitching all the time and you're not doing any work, or you're not there for the company, you can't expect to talk your way into a title fight. I'm going to be real. You got to be 1 for the company, 2 show up, and 3, like I said, due diligence and get that effort in. Because win or lose, if you're showing up and you're doing it and you're there for the company and you keep building your value, which is for us obviously a following. Unfortunately on social media, that's the one thing that they look at, but it's not about that. It's how you present yourself. It's how you carry yourself. It's how you're doing things. So that's why, like I said, it's like I recommend to him, it's like, get in there, fight some motherfuckers, get some highlight reels, build a record, do what you have to do, but stop your whining. People that are whining all the fucking time, nobody wants to hear that. I don't even want to be like that anymore. You kind of got to look in the mirror and kind of understand that, hey, if you have growth going on, that's the one thing with me. I like avocados, and I like plants. And when I'm in my garden, it makes me grounded. One of my jiu-jitsu old coaches would tell me, he's like, you got to ground yourself sometimes. Go walk out on the grass without your shoes and your socks on. And I would start to do that. And obviously I like to grow things, because taking care of animals is one thing. But if you can take care of a plant, because you got to water your plants, it's a lot harder, man. And you start to kind of realize the basic essentials that just a plant needs, so that way that you can, start to take care of yourself a little bit different. So, my best recommendation to fighters out there, start taking care of yourself, start worrying about yourself, quit worrying about Twitter and Instagram and all that other bullshit. My past manager from Brock, he would tell me that. He's like, you know what, Tony? He's like, just worry about fighting. That's how you're going to make your money. That's how you're going to make your name. And good advice is that right there. I'm going to be real. Stop worrying about all the bullshit and you get to fighting, man. Let your fighting do the work.
2 more if I can. And again, thank you for the time, Tony. If you can never get the Khabib fight, would the Islam fight scratch the same itch for you? Or it's 2 different human beings? It won't be the same?
It's two different human beings. Obviously, I like fighting AKA. I'm going to be real. My record with AKA is still 1-0, with Josh Thompson. And with Khabib running away and us having, I got to, no disrespect, his pops passed away, so I can get that. But I believe that when his dad said that we were supposed to compete, I believe that. So regardless, I would love to be able to coach against him in the Ultimate Fighter. How about that? For one, best man wins on the team. I guarantee you my coaching is a lot better than yours, Khabib. Not a lot of people understand that. I don't have to break anybody's rib for that shit. But I understand that my coaching goes a long way, and I can build my team. I built a team for a 12-fight win streak, and I can definitely build a team again to be able to go and beat that son of a bitch. I have nothing personal against him, besides him running away from when the pandemic hit and being a scared little dude. But I got to respect that family's first, and you got to take care of your business. So regardless if it's a basketball game, I pick up basketball or wrestle ball. You want to call it wrestle ball? I don't mind that. Go out there on a wrestling match, jiu-jitsu, soccer. It doesn't matter what game we play. It would be cool to go out there, shake the dude's hand, kind of squash some beef, and then move on, man. It'd be kind of cool. So that way these younger fighters understand that it takes men to be able to represent the sport, and it takes strong women too. But when it goes from me and Khabib, it's a different kind of thing, I can, Tiramisu Tuesdays ain't going nowhere. Today's McNugget Monday. So that stuff just stays. It's kind of like Throwback Thursdays and Flashback Fridays. It's just part of the game now. So, with Khabib, I would love to be able to compete against him, and I think people would tune in on watching The Ultimate Fighter. It's one of those things I have appreciation for the fans. And if the dude's got balls, maybe he'll sign on the dotted line someday. But Tekov, I wouldn't mind fighting him either. I'm going to be real. I got nothing against the kid. Obviously, I would bring it, and I love being able to beat AKA, that's for sure. Let me tell you a real quick story, though. Sure. I remember when Javier Mendez, he's Mexican too, fucking guy. I remember when we were walking out of the elevator, and it's funny how a lot of these trainers, these fighters, they rely on Mexican trainers. That's funny. So props on the Mexican trainers out there getting after it and doing that. Keep up with that shit. But I remember walking out of an elevator, and I was cutting weight, and there was Javier Mendez, and I didn't really know him too. I knew he was a good coach, but I looked at him, and he looked at me and went, "That's him? That's it?" And I was like, "You son of a bitch!" And that didn't hurt my feelings and stuff like that. But at the time, I was like, "Wow." I was like, "I have respect for you," but then you kind of showed your ass, kind of like, "What the fuck, dude? I never did anything to you." But it was kind of like one of those things. So I have this chip on my shoulder against, obviously AKA, and I'd love to beat that team. I'd love to be able to have that chance to do that again. So that opportunity comes up, I will take it.
I do think it's very, very heartwarming, promising. You say that you'd like to kind of squash the beef with Khabib. I think that's really cool.
It's different. You know what I mean? It's like you can hold on to grudges for a long time, but it takes a real man to be able to, I don't want to say move on, but to keep that, because obviously when somebody does you wrong, you remember that. But being a man is making sure you make the good adjustments and go out there and to do that. To hold on to those grudges and to do that kind of negative energy is like drinking that poison Haterade. I'll joke around. I'm going to continue to joke around because that's how I am with my stuff, with Tiramisu Tuesdays and things, because, obviously he cheated on the scale too over there. But it's one of those AKA things where they do that and they get away with it. But with Makhachev, he's different. I'm going to be real. He's different. And I got respect for that. So out of everything and all due respect, I'm still, right now I'm still giving Khabib the finger, but, until that day when we do shake hands like men, maybe that'll happen. So, props.
Final thing for you, Tony. I mean, it's like I said, it's rare to talk to you. I thought I had the wrong phone number because I went like 15 texts because you would tweet like, "Hey, interviews, this and that." I'm like, "All right, I'll take the bait." I tried, but I wouldn't get a response. So, I don't know when the next chat will be. Is there anything that we didn't talk about here today over the past hour that you want to get off your chest? I don't usually do this because it's kind of a lazy question, if I'm being honest. You're just kind of throwing it up there. But I never, it's rare. I never know when the next time we'll talk will come around. So is there anything else that you want to say, that you want to get off your chest? I love what you said about health insurance. I love what you said about squashing the beef. I like this older Tony with more clarity and happiness and maybe trying to help out the younger guys. I think that's really important in this sport. Anything else that you want to cover?
Yeah, man, just shout out to my family, for just putting up with me and my son. obviously my wife, Christina, you know, my son, Angel Anthony and Armand Anthony, keep smiling, you know, keep watching Daddy do his thing. And shout out to my sponsors, you know, Dylan Optics, Monster Energy, Bet Online, Off Axis Acrobatics. You know what I mean? It's just, you know, the shout outs and everything else that go into it. Hold on real quick. It's funny how that works. But more than anything else, I'm going to say to like all the up and coming fighters, I'm going to be real, like, keep up with what you're doing, you know. In my company, RDX Sports, they're really big on that. They're really big on inspiring a lot of the younger fighters and being there for a lot of the fighters. It's a blessing to be able to have this platform to, you know, say what I have to say and do what I have to do. But, you know, when I want to disappear for a while, it's because I'm going out there, I'm enjoying life, and I'm doing my thing. And then when I come back, I always have something to say. So, you know, thank you for having this, you know, having me on the interview. I'll say that for one. And I'm just going to keep doing this, what I got to do. And I'm looking forward to being on Twitch. I just talked to Vayner Gaming, actually. I'm going to be doing Twitch. I'm going to start putting myself out there more. I'm going to be doing interviews. And the next interview I do, I'm going to do a Zoom.
Oh,
I'm going to allow myself to be, you know, seen. Yeah, I'm changing some stuff, man. I'm really putting myself out there. I got the courage to be able to do this stuff now, man. It takes a lot to be able to break open that shell and that nut, so that way you can, you know, present it and then plant that seed. So I'm doing that for myself, and not just for myself, for my family, and then just, you know, for the companies I represent, and for the fans out there, you know, who pay the tickets or who actually pay the money to watch the pay-per-view. You know, I don't really put myself out there too much because I'm not for quick hits. But the way I've seen everybody handle themselves and how they've handled how I've taken this loss, everybody's really sad, man. So what I want to say is, I didn't mean to scare everybody. You know, I'm happy, I'm healthy, I'm really doing really, really well. I went for a run this morning with my dog, and just with clarity, I'm feeling really, really well, man. So I want to say thank you again for having me on the show, Ariel.
Oh, man. Tony, you know this, right? You don't need me to tell you this. People love you. Like, people genuinely love you. The fans love you. They have your back. When you speak, they listen. And maybe there's a certain, you know, method to the idea of not speaking for a year. And so then when you speak, you know, people will listen even more. I don't want to vouch for that because I enjoy talking to you very much, but you know this, right? You know, people love you. They really do love you. And the loyalty that your fan base has for you is pretty incredible. Like, I mean, it's up there with all the big stars. So I hope you recognize that a lot of people have your back. A lot of people want to see you happy, want to see you succeed.
That's crazy.
And want to support you. So I hope you know that.
I do. I see it and I feel it, and I'm going to be real. It's a hard one to understand, you know, because when you lose, you're supposed to, you know, obviously lose followers and everything. But somewhere along the lines, people just see how tough I am, and they kind of emulate that with whatever they got going on in their lives. And you know, it's a blessing to be able to do that. Thank God every day that I'm able to be here and to still, you know, have, you know, functionality in everything that I do. Because I mean, taking a kick like that, you know, not a lot of people can do that. You know what I mean? And then come back from it. So, like I said, thank God every day that I'm still here and be able to do what I do. And you know, to shout out to everybody else, I appreciate you. You know, thank you very much. It makes this game a lot more fun to be able to know that my fans have my back. You know, and I have your back too. So, you know what I mean? Keep doing what you do, and I'm going to keep doing what I do, and I'm going to try to keep inspiring by being the best me that I possibly can be. So I appreciate you guys.
Much love, Tony. All the best to you. Thank you again for doing this, and hopefully we'll talk again soon.